Hi. So I just recorded a video on the origins of the COVID-19 virus, and I really wanted to get it right. So I was trying to get the names and the scientific details right, and I think I ended up reading off on my notes too much. So I'm saying, screw it. I'm going to keep this conversational. I don't have any notes up, and if you want to have the scientific details, that will just be in the blog post. What I wanted to talk about was why labeling of misinformation is bad. I had a conversation with a friend of mine where she was saying, hey, in general, if you can keep people from going down the wrong path and looking into and believing stuff that's not true, that's a good thing. You know, fact checkers can make mistakes, but in general, we don't want people looking into things that don't have any veracity. And I think the COVID-19 the lab leak theory is really an excellent example of how looking into things further can make you realize that what you initially thought was wrong may not have been wrong. And with COVID-19, where this really started was in February 2020, where certain people with a vested interest in the lab leak theory being false put out reports, signed petitions, put out letters essentially saying, yeah, this is false. One example of that is Chinese scientists. They were negotiating to say, hey, we can mention a lab leak theory, but we also want to say that it's not worth looking into further. And I hope we can all see the conflict of interest there. In the US, there was a guy named Dr. Dasick. He was the president of the EcoHealth Alliance, which collaborated with and provided funding to the Wuhan lab. So again, I hope you can see where there's a conflict of interest. But what a lot of people in the public and social media platforms as well were seeing was that a bunch of scientists were coming out saying this is misinformation, that the lab leak theory is misinformation and we should not be spreading this. And as a result, Facebook was labeling posts suggesting this stuff as misinformation. Reddit was actually outright banning it and taking that stuff down. Now, Twitter actually did not ban this stuff. And as a result, there was a bit of a thriving community on Twitter of some biology experts and some just citizens who are interested in this getting together and just sharing the information that they could find. And what ended up happening was, as a result of this sharing on social media, we did uncover some suspicious and significant things. For example, there were bats being held at the Wuhan lab. That was not even put out. There were also bats being studied that had a very similar genome sequence to the COVID-19 virus, and information on this was being held back from the public. And that was brought to people's attention by a Spanish bioinformatics consultant on social media. And eventually enough of this stuff came out that people started taking this more seriously. The Department of Energy, for example, now says that with low confidence, they say that they think the lab leak theory is the most likely origin of the COVID-19 virus. I mean, if you want to Google it, they're not the only people saying that now. Facebook reversed its decision to label this stuff as misinformation. I kind of enjoy looking at the archived PolitiFact article labeling this as a liar, liar, pants on fire, ridiculous claim, because it's kind of nice to see smug people get their comeuppance. But really, yeah, what I'm trying to say is that particularly in situations like that, where there's just a lot of uncertainty and a lot of stuff that we don't know, to immediately rule out certain ideas and try to suppress discussion of them is no way to run a society.